On today's show, we're going to show you how to get a better user experience out of Cura 3.5. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to The First Layer. My name's Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here 3 times a week. On this show, we explore the world of 3D printing. So if you're new here, stick around because we got some great information for you today on 3.5, the latest offering from Ultimaker Cura. This is their slicing software for those who don't know. We've got a lot to cover. We're going to jump into some of the new enhancements or enhanced things that they have done in the user experience to make it a little bit easier for you to navigate through Cura 3.5. Let's head over to the computer. All right, so we've got Cura 3.5 open here on the desktop. And of course, we are using one of my favorite printers, the Ender 3. And what we've got here is the new user experience. And there's some new things that they've done to enhance your experience using Cura 3.5. And first and foremost, we're going to take a look at the file menu. Now, they've changed the behavior of the file menu where Save now saves projects. So if you go down to Save and you click on that, you can see now it's going to come up with a project summary. And you can now save these projects for later use down the road. So what this is telling us, let's give it a quick go. We are using the Ender 3 as our printer. We're using Ender 3 settings as well. We have a single extruder, it's undefined, and we are using PLA. Not in the profile is one override, and of course the profile settings are draft. And the setting visibility here, which is your visible settings, which are 437 out of 516. And this is actually kind of interesting because now you can go back and have a look at certain projects. If you're working on something, let's say you're designing a print, well, you can now take it back and forth into Cura to see where you may have problems in the mesh of your 3D print, or of your file, I should say. And this will help you to take that back and forth, whether you're using Mesh Mixer or Blender or any of the 3D modeling softwares that are out there. This is going to assist you in getting the best file for the best print. So that's a interesting thing that they've done. All right, so let's go up and take a look at the second thing that they've done. Over here in the export, if you click that, you're gonna see it's gonna open up your export files. And in this case, they default to the 3MF file structure. Now, 3MF is very handy because it will open up in a variety of different programs. Now, they also still have your G-code file, so you can save the G-code. You can save it as an STL file, both in ASCII and binary. They both have the same .stl, but if you save an STL in ASCII, you can actually open up that STL in any type of program that's going to allow you to read the ASCII file because it's just plain text. So if you use something like I do, which is Notebook++, I can go in and have a look at exactly how that STL file is built. And then they also have it in binary. Of course, you can't read binary unless you're a computer wizard, but we're gonna go into binary and ASCII in another episode, so stick around for that as well. You can still do the Ultimaker format package, which is what they used to default to, and you can also do an OBJ file. Now, this is an object file. Where it's going to be useful is if you are making your own 3D objects in another program, and you want to export it as an object to maybe save as an STL later, or you want to take it into another program for editing, or send it off to somebody for editing that file as well. So those are a couple of the new enhancements under the file menu. Next, there are some new hotkeys. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting because we're going to see if we can't get over to the overhead here. Now in Cura 3.5, they've incorporated hotkeys, which are very, very handy. As you can see, we've got our bridge here on the desktop. We're going to just select our bridge. And now we can go ahead and use some of the hotkeys. So You can see I've got the keyboard down here in the corner, and we're going to start with the first one, and this is scale. So if we hit the S key on our keyboard, we don't have to hit Control, we don't have to hit Alt, we don't have to hit anything on other than the actual letter corresponding to that hotkey. In this case, it's S, and you can see here that we've scaled this down to about 38.51%, this bridge, because it's quite big. We can set this, we can snap, we can do everything that we do in the scaling tool, but now we don't have to go up and click on it. We can just hit the S key. Now, if we want to rotate this, same thing applies. We just hit the R key. It gives us our rotate menu, and it allows us to rotate this model in any axis. So we can see that we've rotated it here. We can rotate it this way. You know, so you can pretty much do anything that you want. You can turn the model this way as well. If you wanted to make it a little bit bigger on your screen. And the final, or pardon me, not the final one, but now we have another key which allows us to mirror. And you can see here the mirror icon is selected, and now we can mirror any one of these axes, okay? And finally, if we want to just go back to our regular one, we're going to hit the T, which is the translate key. And of course, it's going to take us back up to the move. So that's all there is to the new hotkeys in Cura 3.5. Okay, so if you don't want to use the hotkeys or you forget what those hotkeys are, just bring your mouse over top of each one of these little icons over here on the left side of the screen, and they will tell you what hotkey corresponds with that particular menu item. Now, of course, we have a couple of menu items here that are not hotkey enabled, and then we have some that are. So the one that they didn't talk about was the support blocker, which is E. If we hit E on our keyboard, we can go down to the support blocker. So that will block supports. We're going to talk about supports again on another episode, but what I want to do today is really kind of talk to you about some of these features and enhancements to the features. So now up here underneath the file section, there's one other thing that I wanted to show you was this open recent. Now you can see that if we bring our mouse over, there are some files in here. Let's go to the XYZ calibration cube. And we're going to open up that. We can see that it opens up the recent. The only drawback is that it opens up that recent file on a project we're already working on. So what we would have to do is go to new project. We're not going to save this, but are you sure you want to start a new project? Yes, of course I want to start a new project. Now let's open up that recent again and reload that cube. So that cube now is in the center of the bed where it should be, and now we can start another project. Again, if we wanted to get rid of that cube, we're just going to hit delete in this case, which is a shortcut. All right, so let's go back and open up a recent project, and in this case, we're going to open up our arched bridge. Now we can see that our bridge is huge. So what we want to do is we want to highlight that by making sure that we have, by just clicking on it, it will give us all of our axes. And it defaults here, but now we're going to scale it. So let's go down, let's hit S for scale. I don't know why it doesn't, maybe my keyboard's dying. That could be it. But let's go and make this 30%. And now we can leave this like this, which is something that I like to do, but I'm going to highlight it and make sure that we've got that move tool. And here's kind of something that I want to show you guys is if you go up to File, or pardon me, go over to Edit, and some people don't know about this, we are going to reset all the models. So now it's going to put it on our bed, it's going to put it on a flat side. We can rotate this model now. So we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. There we go. Now it's going to sit flat, and we have our model back on the screen. And that's how you go back to opening recent projects. Kind of cool. I really like this feature in Ultimaker Cura. The last thing I want to show you today is monitor, and you can see it right up here behind prepare. Let me tell you what they've done with the monitor page. The monitor page of Ultimaker Cura has been remodeled for better consistency with the Cura Connect. And what Cura Connect is its own sort of connection language between your PC and your printer. If you're hooking up a PC to your printer, now you can control, well, you could control it before, but this is a lot easier to do. Let's go ahead and have a look there really quickly. You can see that we can preheat now both our extruder and our build plate. Our build plate was heated up before, that's why it's sitting at 40% right now. We can see also here where we're preheating to, and we can change these numbers as we go along. So if we want to preheat to 210, let's preheat to 210. You want your build plate to be less or more, you can. Now the other thing is that you now can jog your printer around in a multitude of different steps. 0.1 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 10 millimeters, and 100 millimeters. And you can inject some G-code in there as well, which is great. So we're going to go ahead and preheat both of these. Now we're going to get out of the monitor. We're going to go back to prepare. And you see down here in the bottom corner that we've got a save to file. What we're going to do is we're going to print using USB. So once this has all come to temp on our 3D printer, we are going to set it up and it is going to print via USB. Now this is something I don't personally recommend, and it is because computers go to sleep. And unless you're leaving your computer on all night long, there are things that will stop throughout. And it goes into what's called a hibernation mode. And this is typical in more Windows environments than it is in Mac environments. I'm a Windows user, so when I have a computer hooked up to my printer for whatever reason, I always leave it on. The only thing I turn off is the screen so that I don't get any burn-in. Now that being said, in this case, we're going to print via the USB because we have the Ender 3 hooked up to the computer. And in this case, we're not going to save it. We're just going to print via USB. So now our temperature has come down a little bit, but it's going to rise back up to meet our 210, which is what we've previously set for the Ender 3. The reason I have mine a little hotter than most people when I'm printing through my extruder is because this room that we're in is a little cool. There's an air conditioner in here, so it causes a little bit of coolness to it. So I print a little bit taller. Now you can see down here, we have active print, the print job's name. We have the printing time and the estimated time left. So this is going to be about a 2-hour print. Because we preheated the nozzle and we preheated the bed, it didn't have very far to go before it was going to start printing. And now it is running its little course there and moving over and starting to lay down our material. And that's all there is to it. Well, I hope you got something out of the enhancements for Cura 3.5. I know I did, and I'm looking forward to using it in the upcoming weeks and getting a little bit more familiar with it. Most of you guys know I'm a Simplify 3D user for the most part, but I learned Cura so that I can teach it to you guys. Now, I want to first and foremost thank Spool 3D. If you're looking for a printer, filament, or any parts or accessories for your next printer upgrade or build, check them out today at spool3d.ca. Print it right, print it with Spool 3D. I'd like to thank my staff, Brian Baker, who's behind the controls today. There he is. And Frank Awesome, and of course the lovely Jess Corniching, who comes in, and they all volunteer their time to help us bring you a much better show. Brian's doing great as a producer. He is keeping me on my toes, so I want to just send out a little extra shout out to him. And of course, my lovely wife, who bakes us all kinds of great goodies for here behind the scenes. Now, I'd also like to thank my Patreons. Without you guys, of course, we couldn't do the upgrades that we need to do and have this lovely studio look that we have today. Thank you very much for that. If you want to be a supporter of the show, you can go to patreon.com/thefirstlayer, sign up for one of the levels there. And we are working very hard to really bump up our Patreon. So stick with us. I'd also like to remind you that if you are not into a monthly commitment, well, you can always just go ahead and buy any one of us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thefirstlayer. We all drink coffee here. As a matter of fact, I got some right here. And there, he keeps putting up that Tim Hortons. We're going to get slapped pretty soon. Yeah, we're branding. At least I put mine in a cup that's got no branding on it.
Can't afford a cup.
He can't afford a cup. There you go. I don't pay them. I just throw them candy once in a while. Or throw them my wife's baking. But if this is your first time here, thank you for joining us today. And of course, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share with all of your friends. And we will soon have a much bigger community. So until next time, listen, just make sure that you love your neighbor, say something nice to somebody, and remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print.